Hey everyone, it's Christine here. Welcome to this full moon in Gemini video and 4 things to know. I'm so excited to dig into this. We have the full moon coming up November 27th at 4:16 a.m. New York City time for reference at 4 degrees of Gemini. And something that immediately came forth was something that we thought was right wasn't or isn't, and that needs to change. So I felt like the energy was as if we picked up someone else's suitcase. It was our suitcase, but it had the wrong stuff inside. And so there's a lot to unpack here. It's a heavy week continuing from this week at the time of this filming. It's being released early and it's connecting, it's playing out. And immediately I got, whose dream is this? So I feel like this is where pieces that you didn't have before, you're able to connect now and realizing, wow, because of my own values, my own belief systems, and also the way that I value certain ways of expressing myself, this is what I want to do. So we're going to dive in and look at the aspects. This is the astrological background. I also have here degree theory and Sabian symbol. It's super interesting. I feel like it's being like a mole and digging through. There's so much information that you could look at to ascertain and glean from this lunation. Numerology, and also the 4-channeled messages. Timestamps, as always, will be provided, and I simply want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for your support, for joining me. I really appreciate the time that you've taken. Let's get started with the astrological background. I have here astro energy background. So immediately, because when I do these and plan and prepare and research, because I look at the transits in the charts, and what's happening for the lunation leading up to it, I also channel messages, and it happens concurrently and also before. And something that I kept getting here was tension, like we are driving and there's a traffic jam. So there's traffic jam vibes with this lunation, with what we want, especially regarding our vision and dreams, what we currently have, which is the reality or what is, who is or isn't supportive, and that's the nourishment, and what we're going to do about that, which may be the lesson or perhaps the personal role or responsibility we take, our free will, if you will. So there's a lot here about tapping into our own inner strength, our personal will, our empowerment, our needs, and being accountable, showing up for ourselves, finally saying, whoa, the last several lunations, no kidding, with the 2 eclipses and then this recent new moon in Scorpio, it left a lot of stuff floating up, and now it's sorting through that and asking ourselves, what are we going to do? What else is there to do? It's finally time to show up for ourselves. And so I feel like we're coming into awareness of what is and what isn't working anymore, and what we need to do to reconcile that. And so again, there's a lot of, especially with Gemini being ruled by Mercury, there's a lot of analyzing deeply, really thinking through, reassessing. It's like going over things over and over. But with some of these energies that I'll talk about, it's also about making peace with things that we know we can't change, and also realizing, you know what, sometimes it's in that peace itself that allows us to move forward. It's got a really prominent tension point here, what's known as a T-square, and we have that with Moon Saturn, which forms a square, and the moon and the sun, and moon and Mars, and also Ceres, a dwarf planet that focuses on nourishment, support, not just how we receive it, but also how we give it. That's why it's called a T-square. So there's opposing energies here with the moon opposite the sun and Mars in Ceres, and then it forms a really harsh 90-degree aspect with Saturn in Pisces. So Saturn is the mediating force here between the opposition, between the moon and the sun, moon and Mars, and moon and Ceres. So it's really about reconciling our big visionary dreams, dreams that we may not even have grounded yet in reality, as well as what's actually realistic and what can we do right now, as well as communication. There's a heavy emphasis here, again, on realignment with relationships and on communicating. And it really continues back from the previous weekly energy forecast. And when you're seeing this video, because I'm airing this almost a week before this lunation, it'll be this current week's. So Pisces is a mutable or double-bodied feminine water sign. So what I get here, because Pisces is going to be the puzzle piece that is going to help, I wouldn't say solve, but help ease or perhaps counter some of the opposing energy that we may be feeling. Like, what do we do? We're having odds here. Things are not working. It's almost like you're stretching something. You want to share something with others, but there's not enough, or it's not happening in the way that you want. And I feel here with this Piscean energy, especially with Saturn, it's about being practical, looking at how things are, and then realizing, you know what can we really do? Because the Pisces energy is about surrendering and having a lot of faith. And Saturn is about responsibility and also realizing, do what you can that's within your control. There's a lot too that's focusing here on tapping into compassion, into love, into faith, like I mentioned, and empathy. Because there's going to be something here that may not occur in the way that you want. And it's almost perhaps like a compromise of sorts. But I feel more importantly, the way that you're going to receive this resolution or this missing puzzle piece is going to be by attuning to your intuitive and psychic nature, which is one of the perhaps best channels when we have this Piscean energy, or when we have Saturn in Pisces, because this is about taking accountability for self, being responsible, being disciplined. And we can do that in a more spiritual way by attuning to ourselves, to our energy, and what is coming forth to us. So the missing puzzle piece is within ourselves. It's almost as if you're looking for that piece outside of yourself, and you may be asking, how do I resolve this? And it's all within you. So there's also too an element of time, and Saturn is also known, some people say, as the taskmaster of time. But also, if you feel here, I keep seeing like, I think it's sandile. What are those things with sand and then you flip them? It's a divine timing too, but it's coming for each person. So you are going to receive your own nugget. So the first aspect to look at, we have the Sun in Sagittarius at 4 degrees, conjunct Mars in Sagittarius as well at 2 degrees. So this was the Cazimi that we had earlier on November 15th. That was really strong and peaked around the 18th, and then has slowly started waning with its energy. So it's coming out of this Cazimi, but both of these energies are opposing the moon. So again, also too with the Sun squaring Saturn, we're feeling the weight and responsibility on our shoulders. We're realizing, wow, this is what I need to do in order to pursue the goals and dreams that I want. And this is where you may start feeling a little bit pessimistic. You may be self-critiquing or feeling like you're critiquing yourself, or feeling just negative in general, despite the Cazimi energy. Because I feel like you can have both of these simultaneously, but with the Cazimi energy, there's a renewal. So you may have already set your plans. You may have your goals or have an idea in your head. This is what I want to change up. Again, look into the Scorpio area of your life, because that's where you will feel that extra revitalization. It could be wanting to work out differently, or wanting to do your money or finances differently, or relationships or career, or your health or your home, whatever it is. But I also feel like you're realizing, oh my gosh, now I know in order to ground this and bring this back to earth, this is what I need to do. These are the actual steps. You may realize, okay, I need to set a budget. This is how much debt I have. This is how much I have in my savings, if any. This is what I need to do to get there. So this is where you may be feeling like, oh crap, life in adulting is hard. With the moon in Gemini opposing Mars in Sag, there's a lot of emotional volatility. There is, I called it like crabbiness. There's an annoyance here. I kept getting a stop and go braking, like in traffic, and that the tea kettling is whistling, because I have channeled messages here. The tea kettling is whistling. It's ready to go, and you're like, I'm not ready to get the tea. I need to go. I don't want to keep stopping and braking in traffic. So this lunation is really also bringing up the point of thinking before you act, and especially before you speak, especially if it concerns other people. But you may be feeling moodiness. So one moment you may be feeling, optimistic, you may be feeling excited, revved up, ready to go, and all of a sudden you're like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. This is too hard. There's so many steps. So there's a lot of mental activity happening, very logical, analytical energy versus what we know, what we have, the resources we have at our disposal, and also what we need to learn, what we need to have, what we need to obtain. So really know that if anything comes up, sometimes it requires doing nothing, not responding to shit, not responding to people, and simply going within yourself and saying, you know what, I acknowledge this is a lunation that is especially going to heighten this and bring this out. And it's simply part of the process. I also got the fire motto that I wanted to share. I think it's stop, drop, and roll. That's what I got. You know, when this was a drill they had in schools, if you were to catch on fire, you would drop on the floor, stop what you're doing, drop, and then roll, usually with a blanket. And I had here, this is the time. So with this lunation, in particular opposing Mars, you may feel revved up to respond pretty quickly to something or someone in your reality, especially if it pertains to something you want to do and they're in the way of it, or you feel like they're in the way. I feel the best way to channel this energy, again, is by not responding or reacting to anyone, especially if you're feeling annoyed or a certain way. Use it to do more physical activity, get that energy out, because the more energy we have pent up, you know, when kids are just tired and they just start thrashing everywhere, or when you're just overstimulated and you can't get that out or soothe your nervous system, it doesn't always come out in the best way possible. So you may be feeling heightened responses of restlessness, irritability, annoyances, even like minor things that don't annoy you. You may be snappy at people or anything around you. You may just feel like crabby. So direct it towards something that you know you enjoy, maybe just reading or taking a bath or physical activity is amazing. I even have here something that allows you to communicate, because a lot of this energy is, I kept getting highlighted with the throat chakra. So venting to a therapist or a counselor or a friend, like a bitch fest. I have here also advocacy or activism, because you can channel this energy in a very positive way that also contains elements of what you want to do. Maybe you're interested in starting your own business and you want to join a group of like-minded folks, and you can get together and talk and express that energy in a positive way. Be careful though too, because like I mentioned earlier, there's also the potential for passive aggressivity, emotional and mental volatility from others. So it can come out in the form of like violent or abusive words or language. And even, you know, when people are just so pent up and they don't know how to emotionally respond, they can turn towards physical abuse, right? When people are just so angry, we hear horror stories of people doing that with kids or pets. They lash out. So be careful of folks, or even potentially you, of doing that. So this is, and I got a water boiling over the pot here. So this is a wonderful opportunity to stop, drop, and roll. To literally stop in your tracks when you feel like you're that tea kettle that's about to boil over or steam, you know, when it starts whistling. And to ask yourself, okay, what can I do to diffuse this, to self-soothe at this time? Sometimes it means not even engaging with people. We also have the moon squaring Saturn, which adds to the heaviness of this. There's repressed feelings. We may feel depressed as well, like a form of low mood. And I feel like some of the things that we may want to say, we may hinder ourselves from expressing that. There's a general despondence too. I feel like during this lunation, you may have elements that are coming back from the past that are like pinging at you, like a cell phone tower, that may bring up some grief or mourning. I just got a lot of sadness here, perhaps sadness of how things didn't work out, of things that you're trying to do. Maybe it's another go around, or you're trying to change something in your reality that is reminding you of something from the past. It's an overall like grouchy element that I got here. So again, there's a strong theme with this lunation on nourishment of self and how you do that with others and what doesn't feel good. Kind of Marie Kondo's What Sparks Joy. This is coming up strongly. So rethink if there's someone or something that doesn't make you feel good. Identify why and what you can do to perhaps mitigate that feeling or distance yourself or potentially remove that from your life. We also have the moon trining Pluto. Pluto's in Capricorn. So again, remember I mentioned with the ameliorating effects of Saturn and Pisces with the T-square, we have here also Pluto's involvement. And this, did I say sextile? I meant trine. I feel like I'm like saying things and then I catch it later. The moon, this is the moon trine Pluto. There's amplified intuitive and psychic messages here. You are going to just know. And I feel like this is going to be the time, especially with, again, communication. And generally we can communicate with ourselves, but also with others. So there's a lot of focus here too on other relationships. You're going to feel more emotionally sensitive, more attuned, your antennas on. You may just simply feel like there's an extra level of cognitive awareness between what you truly desire. And I kept getting intimacy throughout all of this. Intimacy is broad. It doesn't have to mean just romance or sex. This is just a deeper connection with people. Quality. Again, this connects to the weekly energy reading I did. Quality trumps quantity. There's a focus here on finding deeper meaning and connection with others. And I feel like with this trine and Pluto, you're really wanting that. There's an intensity here and longing for this. So some of you are going to be with your antenna really able to feel into what does not work for you anymore and what is. Have your antenna is stripped bare and your feelings feel it all. Okay, we have Mercury in Sagittarius squaring Neptune in Pisces. I got here glob of globbiness. So there's distortion and confusion around communication. So again, this is why tapping into what you're feeling, not just seeing, because with this Neptunian influence here, especially around communication, Mercury rules over Gemini. I feel like some of the things people may tell you or what you're hearing or the communications you're receiving or what you're seeing, especially close to you, may not be what it is you really think it is. And I feel like post-lunation, you are going to see that cloud lift. So this is why a lot of this energy is really tapping into trusting your intuition and feeling what you're feeling and sensing and receiving psychically. So no matter how good it looks on the outside, no matter how pretty the package is, you got to trust your feeling during this lunation, because there's going to be a higher, I kept getting charlatans and I saw jokers. Not that jokers are, are tricksters, but I kept getting that. So anyways, there's an energy here of not walling yourself. In other words, don't encase yourself in other people's deception. You're going to feel it. I kept getting charlatans, deceptive people, psychic leeches. And be careful of making any huge decisions, especially around contracts or anything verbally, like a commitment. Like, yes, I'll sign in on the project or whatever. Because I feel like this time you may not be getting the full message. You may not be getting the full story. With Mercury and Sag squaring Saturn again, this was a continuation from the previous week. There's restriction, again, frustration, feeling like you're not able to push through or accomplish what you want. You may feel like you're being held back, especially if it's an authority figure like a boss. It could be masculine energy. It could be a father-like figure. It could be someone's words too. There's a huge confluence of communication here. So be careful of resisting any of this energy. It doesn't mean you accept it in that way. Like you're like, yeah, give it to me. But be careful of trying to fight through it when all you're doing is going in circles and it's making you drained. We also have Mercury in Sagittarius, sextiling Pluto in Capricorn. So there's tremendous willpower and there's strength here and inner guidance. And I feel like no matter what is coming up, especially the tension that you may be feeling, friction, setbacks, even some particular miscommunications or lack of clarity, knowing that you can use your own inner strength, your own patience and commitment is going to allow you to move forward, even if it's not in the way that you anticipate. This is about keeping your eye on the prize. In other words, what it is that you want to reach or accomplish or complete. It's the destination you want to get to. And knowing that, okay, maybe this week out of, who knows, X amount of weeks, this is showing you something that you may need to learn, something that you may need to revise, and something you may simply need to know for the moment in order to reach that. So there's a lot of focus on simultaneously transforming while allowing that to happen and not resisting it. We have Mercury in Sagittarius trining the North Node in Aries. So again, I feel like during this lunation, there's going to be letting go of people and connections that don't support you in the way that you need it, especially in the way that you express yourself. There's a huge focus on expression. And this could be in your career, in your relationships, and simply feeling heard, seen, understood. And I feel like as a result, and this also has to do with underlying values too, but what I'm sensing here with this energy is that if you're not feeling like people get you, that you are going to move away from that, or at least revise that system or that way of relating or that relationship so that you can feel better supported and cared for. Because there's tension here with Ceres opposing this lunation. Where are you not feeling supported, uplifted, encouraged, nourished? Who doesn't fill your cup? Because if you're surrounding yourself with people that are jealous, envious, critical, that pretend to be your friend, that are fake, that only are there when they want something, or are simply, maybe your love languages are not meeting in the middle, or there's a miscommunication there, it's bringing up the notion of who in my vicinity right now, my community, in my network can help me. Where can I go to, or who can I go to when I need support, or when I have a question, or when I just simply need to talk something out? So again, I feel like when you decide to revise that, when that comes into your awareness, and when you realize I'm ready to let this go, or these people go, or this community, you are going to get new folks coming in. And that's where you may meet people during this time, this transition process, that are going to support this new way of communicating, because this is a new up-leveling in how you relate to people through communication, but more importantly, how you express yourself. We have Venus in Libra forming a quincunx, or an inconjunct with Uranus in Taurus. This was interesting for me because there are odds here. Quincunx generally represents some type of challenge, and there's some type of having to compromise, readjust, almost as if you have the perfect pair of jeans, but they're not quite perfect, and you're constantly like fixing them. You know, when you have an item of clothing that you wear and it looks perfect and it almost feels perfect, but something is off, you're constantly readjusting it. This is the energy. And I kept getting intimacy right away here. Intimacy versus autonomous freedom. So again, with relationships, Venus in Libra, she's right at home there. Uranus is not at home in Taurus, but both are Venusian ruled signs. And I want to just give you a quick comparison, because even though they appear similar, the signs do, they're very different. And this is really about reconciling two different needs simultaneously and learning how we can find balance within those. Like I mentioned, intimacy versus autonomous freedom. And this can be in regards to our relationships, to our financial habits, since Venus rules over money, our finances. Can we spend more maybe on quality clothing and spend less on crap we don't need that maybe breaks down? It's that type of energy. This is also speaking to our creative expression that aligns to our values too. So there's a novelty here, an innovation, but also having that string still connected to comforts, tradition. So these areas too, we sometimes don't understand the other. Even though here with Libra and Taurus present, we have both Venus ruled signs. And to me, I got fraternal twins. They may appear similar, but they're different. So Libra is in its domicile here. It feels great. It's amazing. It's an air sign. It's a cardinal or tropical sign. So it initiates, it starts cycles. It initiates season, or the season, I should say, the fall. It's a masculine sign, and it's also very analytical and mental. Taurus, on the other hand, is in its fall in Uranus. Doesn't do well there. Taurus is a fixed solid sign, or a solid sign, so it tends to prefer and promote structure, stability, sustainability. Uranus doesn't. It's also a feminine sign, and it's really more tapping into feeling and embodiment. So you can see how the Venusian expression in both signs are very different. So the bifurcation, it's like, no, I'm not understanding your love language at all. It's that type of energy. People can love one another, but they may have different forms of loving. Another way that I got here that kept coming forth was about food. You may want to go out to eat and enjoy your favorite Italian dish, but you don't want to order the same thing. Ever been there? You're like, I want to try something new. But then you ask yourself, well, if I try something new, I don't want to risk getting sick. What if I don't like it? What if it's not what I expected? What do you do? So there's that reconciling energy with this lunation. And I feel like this has to do with our needs and our wants, and also who's involved in it and how we do it. So I think the best way to channel this energy is in your creative endeavors and goals, in your pursuit, maybe changing something up about your appearance or your look, or it could be about your branding as well. To an extent, relationships. This is where you can mix things up with this energy, especially if this is highlighted in the Gemini area of your chart, of your life. You may want to try something really new in your relationship, maybe switch up date night or try something very different that you don't normally do, that's out of your comfort zone, or things of that sort. This is about bringing in your own unique magic print here. Then we have Venus in Libra opposite the North Node in Aries. And this is the energy I've felt and I've been feeling. Again, this speaks to unbalanced relationships. I feel like this lunation is going to bring up who is holding on to you or who you are holding on to for whatever reason, but realizing there's some type of imbalance here that's happening. There's some type of tension point, because I feel like this person subconsciously or consciously may be inhibiting or thwarting your ability to fully express yourself, for you to fully come out, and for you to fully and authentically, creatively emerge as the person that you are, and also in the way that you want. I also feel like this speaks to a shifting of balance of power. So there's a reshuffling here, and again, a reorganizing of, do these people support me in where I want to go, or are they holding me back? We also have Venus opposing Chiron, also in Aries. This was another significant energy that I've been feeling for a bit. And again, this is when we're going to see any imbalances come to light. So this melds all together, and I wanted to discuss them separately or distinctly, so you can understand what is happening with this lunation. So Venus in Libra is about love, beauty, pleasure, artistry, money, our self-worth, indulgences, and pleasures. But since we have Chiron here in the mix, we're not seeing the highlights, the specialties, the things we want to see on this Venusian platter. We're being mirrored, or something is being reflected to us, where we are instead internalizing things or perceiving things in a more painful or hurtful way. So instead of thinking, wow, I'm an amazing, beautiful, attractive person, we may start picking at our flaws, or something we hone in on, and we negatively aspect ourselves in that way. So with Chiron not seeing the highlights of this Venusian platter, we may actually instead revert to zeroing in on our insecurities, focusing in on what people have brought up, especially from the past. And we may nitpick ourselves or at ourselves, and instead feel that painful cycle again of not feeling worthy enough. So some warning is being highlighted here, especially with regards to your relationship to self, and also in the relationships that you're in. What have you been experiencing repeatedly? And take a look at where Chiron and Aries is in your chart. Wherever you're feeling a ping, this is also letting you know something is coming to light here. What can you do? Where are you overgiving or taking too much? What doesn't feel good to you? What makes you feel insecure or unsafe? Because you'll notice that, and there are people around you that may be bringing up those sentiments. And this lunation is really allowing you to see that, because there's a lot of focus on, again, decluttering people at this point that are not only not vibing with you, but are not supportive and nourishing with this person that you are, with this, I wanted to say upgraded person, but you're changing. And at this point where you are, not many people may accept who this new version of you is. One of the best ways to navigate this Venus opposite Chiron influence with this lunation is to accept what you're feeling, to acknowledge what's going on, and then ask yourself, well, what can I do differently? Especially when you start recounting some of these similar woundings that have been coming up, whether it's around your money or your appearance or the way you see yourself or your relationships or your finances. Because you can use that then as a form of empowerment, as a form of growth, and as a way of internally validating yourself and giving to yourself. It's really when you are honest, radically honest with yourself, and come to that level of acceptance that you can also free yourself. And that's where a lot of the wounding with Chiron happens. It sets you free when you realize this is what wounds me. And you can use that to change what's going on, but also to grow from it. And also to help others. Okay, moving on. Let's get into the degree theory. And so this lunation is happening at 4 degrees of Gemini. And 4 degrees is Cancer. It represents Cancer in degree theory. And immediately, before I even consulted this, I got this was a very highly emotional time of fleshing out tears, grief, and what's left. This energy suggests to me that there are words or conversations left unsaid by you or others. Like there's a lack of closure, there's no ending. Because something I kept seeing over and over was that there was a door open. You know when someone runs out hastily or in a hurry and they leave the door open and forget to close it, and you see someone was there but they didn't kind of tidy up before they left? That's what I'm getting, or I got when I channeled this message. So you're learning new things with this lunation, and I feel like this is helping you integrate during this process. Again, there's a lot of coming to terms with what is and also releasing. And I feel like many folks, this is also a continuation of releasing people. So with the degree theory, again, this denotes Cancer. Some of the themes that may come up, and this stems from the Serbian astrologer who has since passed, Nikola Stojanovic. We have a lake, swimming pool, liquid, water, tears. So again, a confluence of emotions here: milk, beer, dairy products, a house, a home, a threshold, an entrance, woman, mother, public opinion, public patriotism, nations, the human race, people, family, roots, passed down items, hometown, origin, dreams, shells, pearls, the moon. So for me, this is really about connecting to the past, to our foundation, whether it was from childhood, a current home, or somewhere in between. Also, our intuitive depth, our emotions, because there's something here that I feel is still or has been leaking. And like I said, I feel like it's about flushing out what's been left and coming to terms with that. Most folks, especially with Gemini energy, don't see this as a very emotionally charged lunation, but I got something different. And full moons in general tend to be a little bit, I feel, more emotional than new moons, but I feel like here there's something from the past, whether it's this current past, this incarnation, or from a past life, that are coming up. And it could be a way of closing the door on that, on getting closure for yourself, and also realizing how much you've grown and what you're changing within yourself, where you're not repeating that or you're not bringing that with you moving forward. I also got this feeling, I felt like there was a lost or forgotten dream that is coming back to the forefront. With the Sabian symbol, Gemini at 4 degrees, holly and mistletoe bring Christmas spirit to a home. So again, there's something about your home, your foundation. I kept getting past energy too, something that's coming up, and it has to do with relationships and how you communicate. I'll read you what this says. This symbol speaks of sharing the joys of family and celebrations. There regularly comes a time when we need to reconnect with loved ones, family, or in a larger sense, humanity, to discover the strength and joys in the cultural and religious bonds that hold us together. Even though we may live our lives primarily as separate entities, this bond can serve to strengthen each and every participant. Remembering each other periodically helps to keep our connection strong, and it reinforces our sense of spirit and belonging. Social celebrations of the spirit, the fundamentals of belonging, celebrations of family and friends, the value of community, simple gestures for each other, gifts, Christmas, superficial tricks of performance to achieve happiness or meaning, Scrooge mentality, neglecting a family, the silly season, its stresses and strains, loneliness. So we see here two probably ends of the spectrum with the Sabian symbol of the 4 degrees in Gemini. Again, there's a focus here on community, and this connects straight to the weekly energy forecast that I did for the week before, which is really interesting. This is completely on relationships, on people. There's a revising here. I feel like what this is telling us with the lunation, it's about quality over quantity. And it's also about connecting your values, what you truly want. I'm sensing just intimacy kept coming up a lot with this full moon reading that I did. And it was supported, with some of the astrological research, but channeled messages kept coming through with intimacy. Some of you are longing and wanting deep, meaningful connections, real, authentic, genuine connections, not just superficial ones, not just people that need you when they need you. There's a sense of quality here. It's like, you know what? I want to enjoy quality, even if it's not every day or every week. I want to be able to spend time with people that truly get me, that support me, that understand me, that speak my same language. And I'm not saying that literally. I'm saying that people that understand you and get you, the way of your expression, your self-expression, your persona, your energy vibe. They just get you. They're like kindred spirits. That's what I mean. They don't have to speak the same language, like English, for example. That's not what I meant. So we have a strong focus here on family and celebrations and community coming together. And family doesn't have to be blood. Numerology of 4. This speaks to authority, power, rulership, stability, security, consistency, and discipline. It also speaks to the energy of being practical and rational, which again ties very much to Gemini. The pursuit of knowledge may trump money and wealth acquisition. Investment building, working hard and determined. Learners and teachers. So there is an up-leveling here. I feel like this lunation is teaching a lot of us how to take personal responsibility, how to tap into our own intuition and psychic gifts and those messages. Because like I said earlier in this reading, Saturn in Pisces is going to be key to, I would say, assuaging this opposition that this full moon is having with the Sun and Mars and Ceres. We are going to find what we precisely need, and it's going to come through to us through these channels. It's not going to come in the mail and we're going to get exactly what we need. We're going to feel it. So a lot of this energy is really tapping into our feminine energy with the water element too, with Saturn, or I should say Pisces. It's also feeling into those emotions. That's why I kept getting... Okay, you guys, I hope you enjoyed that. Comment down, let me know what your thoughts are. I know there's a lot. There is a lot to unpack. And I really have become more interested in looking at all angles, because I am someone who's always been a multidimensional scholar in life and in the world. And so I really like looking at the lunations and different phenomenon and different just events that are occurring from different angles in order to simply feel into them. Let's get on to the channeled messages. So we've learned a lot. I would say a shit ton since the last lunation. I feel like it's still growing. And I feel like what we thought was a yes, we're realizing was a no. And vice versa. There's things that are still shifting and things that are slowly coming into place, like a snowball. When you shake it, or a snow globe, I should say, and then you see the little snow pellets settle, it's like that. We're seeing puzzle pieces fall into place, even if that only means that we're seeing the outline or a space for it, but we don't know exactly what that's going to be. Again, there's a lot of still, I feel like, cleaning up that's happening. I saw a whoopee cushion too. A whoopee cushion, that's that toy that you blow up and then you put it on someone's chair and they sit and it sounds like they farted. I kept seeing that being deflated and being out of gas. And that's not what I mean, like farting, but you know, when you're out of energy, think it's like the energy where you think like you have gasoline in your car and you don't, and the check engine or the gasoline light comes on, not the check engine light, the gasoline light comes on and you miss it and all of a sudden the car doesn't work. That's what I'm getting here. And with the title about the dreams, because I channeled earlier about whose dream is this? This is why I feel like there's a confluence of emotional energy and relationship energy here, because I feel like some of you may have been living for others or may have been living for others just to stay in connection with them. It's almost like keeping the dream, perhaps keeping the facade alive to keep something going, like a relationship or a situation or a job or whatever it was, thinking, yes, I still want to be a doctor, but you really don't. And so you pretend you complete school or you're in residency, whatever the situation. That's the energy I kept getting. So let's get into it. Oh, before we get into it, I channeled 2 songs. They kept playing like big time, like jukeboxes. They come in. I got Cass Elliot. She was from the Mamas and the Papas, but also an amazing singer on her own. Dream a Little Dream of Me. And I will link those down below. I also channeled John Denver, Leaving on a Jet Plane. You know what's interesting? Both of them, Cass Elliot and John Denver, did duets too. They sang together. And I couldn't believe I channeled both of them. So there's something there for you. I feel like many of you, there's a sense of shifting and moving, and it has to do with your communication, the way that you think and express yourself, and leaving behind things that don't support it. There's also a dream that's coming back around for many of you. Let's get into it. Message number 1, I got EQ up. Interesting, I heard GQ. That's a sophisticated magazine that's geared towards men. And I'm like, okay, well, what is this about? And I did research after I channeled this message, and I found out that the catchphrase for GQ was the magazine for men with an IQ. And when I heard EQ up, that I already knew what it meant, but it was interesting the correlation here, or how synonymous it felt. This is about up-leveling. This lunation is about up-leveling your emotional quotient. In other words, your emotional intelligence. And so the EQ or EI, it's really about emotional awareness and understanding of yourself, how you respond, how you understand. And it comprises, based on the Goldman EQ theory, it comprises of 5 core components. We have empathy, effective communication or social skills, self-regulation, and motivation. And so this lunation, I feel like you're up-leveling. If you haven't felt it already, this is going to be the I'm even having problems talking. This is going to be the process where you are changing the way that you communicate and also how you express yourself, your emotions, 2 different forms of communication. Situations will be popping up around you. And I feel like they're pinging at you, you know, like a cell phone pings at a cell phone tower. They're pinging at you because they're asking you, are you going to respond in the same way? How are you going to respond this time? How will you respond differently? Because I feel like the way that you respond is going to be very telling of where you are in your own journey. This is nothing about comparing yourselves to others or to a certain degree or magnitude of what comprises the best or top-notch EQ or EI. Because I know they have some tests where you can aggregate the number, kind of like an IQ. It's nothing like that. This is more about, okay, I've been responding to people or situations like this, especially if it's been negative, someone annoys you, you may say something, etc. This is about changing that and being cognizant and aware of that and not overthinking that. This also ties more into an enhanced way of communicating, because how you emotionally respond now and the way that you've shifted in your level of emotional intelligence is going to speak volumes about how you express yourself in the way that you do it. And this intrinsically shifts dynamics within relationships or relationship dynamics. So they're all tied. As you can see, there's different strata that are connected. I put some folks are going to leave. The door is open for new folks. Because of this way, it's almost like a maturation. You're maturing with your emotional quotient. And you're simply, some of you have matured, have gained wisdom, have learned things from your past. You've learned a lot about who you are as a human, as a soul, and many of you have gone through this integration process where you're ready to go to the next level. As a result, when that happens, not everyone will be coming with you. So this lunation is also about letting go of old ways of emotionally responding and turning and tuning into self, and realizing, you know what, just because the antenna is, just because, well, it could be an antenna, just because things are pinging at me everywhere and they may be inciting some type of trigger or response from you, doesn't mean you necessarily have to respond. And you don't have to do it in the same way. So there's a huge opportunity for empowerment here, for awareness and also acceptance of, wow, I don't respond in the same way. I don't let someone who was constantly maybe bitching at you or telling you stuff that you've told them not to tell you get to you anymore. You just smile and you let it go. You know, you have reached an element in your own emotional maturity when you can see things from a different angle. When you see someone project their own insecurities on you and criticize you, maybe on how you look when you didn't ask, you start to look at it not from a point of pain, but from a point of compassion, when you realize that person is really speaking more about themselves than they are you. So this is the type of energy I'm seeing for many folks. There's a huge up-leveling in their emotional intelligence that's happening. I put here at the end, adulting. We are adulting to the next level when it comes to our emotional responses. Message number 2, listen to innate wisdom. I saw a big spark of light in the upper part of the heart, and it was beaming as if the body was see-through, so you could really see the light coming through. And this connects to a lot of what I've already said, so I won't rehash that, but this is about not letting other people blemish you, your ideas, your joy, your creativity, how you express yourself, or your work. Especially wherever this lunation falls, wherever the moon in Gemini falls in your natal chart. I feel like some of you are sponges and have been absorbing this, we'll say, these emotions, these different forms of communication and messages as your own. So in other words, you're taking what people impart as wisdom as your own. And it can come through many ways, through decisions that you make, through what you learn, how you do things, etc. It's a lot. It's a lot of different areas. But I feel strongly there has been, this is something you know. Some people may want to try to keep you down, or may have tried to keep you where you are at because they benefit from you in some way or another. So again, there's a theme here of relationships, and they may not want to see you grow or advance or develop or simply up level for whatever reason. That generally reflects their own fears, but people can project them on you. So this again ties into a lot of what I said earlier with this lunation. It kept coming up. This I got strongly with this message. The second message channel is about moving and working in silence, especially with folks around you that you know don't support or nourish your soul. Those are some nosy people that ask what you're doing or that try to pry and get information. These are people that constantly have something to say back to you, or it could be people that just don't get what you're doing and they don't have anything positive to share with you. It could be family, friends, partners, the whole gamut, anyone. And so I kept getting like work and move in silence and share your ideas with your journal. So this may be a huge time, again, particularly with some of the Plutonian energy here, tapping into your own messages that are coming through, maybe through automatic writing, but I got journaling. You're going to get a lot of insights, a lot of creative ideas that maybe you used to ask for people, you know, their advice or to share some of their experiences, and now you're getting your own. It's about piecing that together for yourself. Again, I want to say it doesn't mean you don't ever ask anyone for help or you don't share your ideas, but it's also too about being discerning. I also channeled the song with this message, "The tremulous silence is golden." Listen to the song, it's an oldie song. And I'll link the song as well. But I feel like as you are shifting and up-leveling in the way that you emotionally respond and communicate, and again, take that into relationships, it's going to change how it is that you move forward towards your goals, your dreams, your ambitions. Message number 3, pursue the idea. I'm like, this is simple. You know, the one that keeps popping up. There is something that repeatedly keeps popping up. And I saw Whack-A-Mole, the game that we tend to see in arcade games with the little mole popping up and you have that big thing. What is it called? The thing, I don't know what it's called, the hitter thing. And you pop it and your goal is to be very fast and pop them down, like squish them, and hopefully you win. But the point of that was you can't keep pushing this idea down. There's something that has been repeatedly coming up, and it could be an idea, some type of creative prospect, an inkling you're getting, like it's time to move on from a job, it's time to end that relationship, you're ready to pursue this, or you're seeing movies or books about architecture and you want to pursue that. Something keeps popping up, and there's so much that's coming to me right now because I'm seeing food. Some of you want to open up your own restaurants or your own little carts, food carts. There's on trucks too. I don't know what they're called. Food trucks. There's a lot that has been popping up. And some of you are pushing that down for a variety of reasons. Because for some, it's going to be something radically different and opposing to what you're doing now. And there's a fear there of, do I know enough? Do I have the knowledge or training or skills? What are other people going to think? Can I even do this? Is this feasible? There's like a lot going on. So I feel also the physical manifestation happening, the physical response in terms of your body freezing. I said freezing, freezing up. And for me, it's indicative of a normal response, because something that's so out there, but it keeps coming up to you, shows that your soul is nudging you. Like, hey, don't forget this idea. Hey, you've been wanting to do this. You want to explore it. And there's so many different ways to explore it. There's different gradations, right? Different degrees. You can start off by simply learning a little bit more about it, Googling. Again, it's going to depend on what this is, what this idea is, or what this particular light bulb moment that keeps coming up. Because for some folks, it could be cutting away certain people or revamping your relationships or boundaries or how you communicate with others. So doing or moving in a new way that may stretch you is something that's being epitomized by this. And I feel like this is something that you get excited about. There's nerves involved too, because it's something that you may not have ever done. So you may not have any experience. It's almost like when you start a new business, and if you don't have any business experience, you may feel like you're starting all over. And in many respects, you're taking skills and translating them. That's it. You have a lot of skills already. But there's something here repeatedly coming up. I also got here, the idea may have to do with presenting or communicating in a new way, or being seen or being visible. Because I saw someone going from the back, like, people that like to work more in the back scene, hidden behind the scenes, that's the name, being elevated to the front, moving to the front, being known, being seen and heard, and they're expressing themselves. And there's a vulnerability when you do that. You risk a lot of things, because when you share your own creations and thoughts and expressions, you're going to open the channel for a lot of things. And it's also akin to joining a group and not knowing anyone. That's a type of energy. Sometimes you go in and it's a little nerve-wracking. It feels a little anxiety-driven. You may feel nervous. You're like, I don't know anyone. What's this about? But there's something here about moving forward with that idea. And that means letting go of what you're doing now. I got here, there's a resounding vibrational note of letting go of what you don't want. And it's all energetic. And some of you want to make the new work with the old, and it clashes. So some of you with this lunation, you're being called to let go of something. That may mean putting in your resignation. And I'm saying this very superficially, because there's a lot of other variables to take into account. So please always trust your own judgment. your own intuition and be discerning. Do I have, enough money saved up to make this move? Is this a lateral move or a completely new move? Am I switching jobs, etc.? Whatever, excuse me, whatever the case, you do your own type of, like, what I like to call like security type of research, so that you feel safe when you do these things. But there's something that has to be let go in order for this new idea to be pursued and for the ball to get rolling. Message number 4, last one. Let it go, let it flow. And I got it. And initially, when I first saw that, I thought it was what it usually meant, but it's not. So it doesn't translate the way we usually think with this motto. So this is about others in your life and about not allowing people, or how do I say this? If there's a people-pleasing energy here, it's about dropping the energy of having people come to you on your side, to bring people on your side, to persuade or convince people to see things in a certain way, in a way that you see them, or why you want to do something, especially when it comes to your goals, your dreams, or the way you live your life. There may not, I'll say, like, no matter how convincing or persuasive you are, the people that you want the most support from may not be able to give you that support, may not be understanding, or may not see your vision. And that's what this message was all about. Because some of you may have tried different ways to help people understand what it is that you want to do, or why you want to change something, or why you want to leave, or whatever, and you're not seeing that. And again, this is coming through with the Ceres opposing the moon. It keeps bringing up the question, who is truly there for you and supporting you and nourishing you and lights up your soul? All relationships, not just romantic. And who isn't? And are you also providing that for others and for yourself? The main message here was not allowing their reaction to hinder or hinge upon your actions or any decision moving forward, right? If you're saying to someone, you know what, I think I want to go back to school, and I'm looking into different schools, and the person's like, I don't think you should because you're this or you're that. Don't let other people's shit hold you back. Some of you are also being guided to release this mindset because I feel like it's connected to the past. In this incarnation, it could be from childhood, but I also feel like it could be from past lifetimes of trying to always get some type of, it could stem into people pleasing, but also external validation of having people acknowledge and recognize that what you're doing is whatever you want them to recognize that for, whether it's good, it's successful, it's an intelligent move, whatever it is. Almost like you want a rubber stamp from them, like, boing, you're good to go. And that's not about it. And I got to backseat driver. Any of you, when you start learning to drive, generally, it depends, especially with family or older people, sometimes they may act like a backseat driver. In other words, they may tell you what to do while you're driving. They may point out things even though you see them, etc. It's about not having that backseat driver with you in your life anymore, especially when you're not a novice driver anymore. And I'm saying this metaphorically. You may have been driving already for decades. So some of you have ideas that expand creative borders energetically, but also geographically. And this speaks to me on really connect to yourself and connect with other like-minded people. Again, those that support you and that see your vision. So if you're an artist and you want to quit your job at a corporation to pursue your art full time, you may not want to ask people that really value working at a corporation or 9 to 5 or whatever, because you may not like what they have to say, or they may not be supportive, or you're not getting the type of uplifting or encouragement that you want. That's why people tend to form community with people that are, similarly aligned in terms of values. I hope these messages have helped. I hope this video has helped and given you a lot to think about, work with, and also to relate, because I feel like you all have already been feeling this energy. This isn't something new. This allows you to deep dive and to get clear with yourself on what is it that you want to do moving forward, because there is tension coming up. There is something or someone or a series, plural, of things or some people to release and let go. And I feel like it has to do with your vision going forward, the way you communicate, the way that you want to be supported and nourished, and also how you're simply wanting to connect and relate to people. It's very much intrinsically tied. And like I mentioned before, think of a multi-level shopping mall. You know how some of them have 3, 4, 5, 6, sometimes 7 floors. They have escalators and escalators and elevators, so you can move up and down the different levels. This is like that. All of these elements and themes that I've mentioned, they're all tied to one another. So going back to all of this, one of the best things is not just saying or shutting the door to people and saying, okay, I'm going, alone, lone wolf energy, but it's really about learning to tune back in to your own intuitive nature and getting out of your head too. But I also feel like this lunation is also asking us to surrender what it is that isn't working anymore, to have faith in our goals and dreams, even if we don't even see the first seedling materializing, but know that just the intention itself is going to keep moving forward. And more importantly, to be patient and wait, because Saturn in Pisces invites us to have patience, to take responsibility, to say, you know what, damn it, I can do this. But I sense that there's some things happening right now. There's some challenges arising, not to hinder me, not to hurt me, not to cause more pain, but to make me realize and ask myself, wait a minute, does this need more revision? Do I need to do something different? Or maybe I just need to lean back and wait. Wait for your own intuitive and psychic powers to kick in and bring you the messages that you need, because they're coming. Thank you all so much for being here. If this helped in any way, comment down below, share with me what you've been feeling, if you have any intentions, what you're hoping to release, let go of, or anything else. I'd love to hear your stories. It's always really helpful. I will see you soon. Have a beautiful lunation. Take care.